All right. Well, thank you all again so much for joining us for a quick overview of wind and hail buyback coverage. We're going to be talking today about that for commercial property risks, and I'll explain a little bit more about that here in just a minute. For those of you who have just joined us as we're getting started, again, you'll notice no access to your mic or camera, so our chat is open. If you have any questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat and we'll make sure to get those answered. So the purpose of today's webinar is to give you some introductory knowledge of this coverage, this wind hail buyback coverage, and also to help identify which of your clients can benefit most from this coverage. We're also going to give you a few talking points, as well as share with you in our follow-up email a flyer that we've created to help explain this coverage to insureds as well, and help them to see and understand why you would be offering this to them. So that's the purpose of the webinar today. My name is Megan Prendergast, and I am the marketing manager here at Chris-Leef. Today, I am joined by Keith Goodman, who is a Chris-Leef commercial underwriter. And Keith is really an expert at our company in underwriting these kinds of risks. He sees them day in and day out. So he's going to join us here as we get a little bit more into the specifics of this coverage to explain some of those things for us, and also to talk to you guys about who this coverage is for and help to kind of target which insureds are going to get the most benefit out of this. Sometimes when people are talking about wind hail, I feel like they tell you that anybody with a roof is your target audience. And while that could be true, I think that there are some more really specific classes that are good targets for this coverage and program that we have here today. So our agenda, let's chat through our agenda really quickly. So today, as I mentioned, we will be addressing our following items here as it relates to commercial property risks. Currently, Chris-Leef does not write wind hail as a monoline product for personal lines. However, this is something that we can cover as part of your homeowners or dwelling fire coverage. So if you do have questions about wind hail as it pertains to personal lines and those homeowners and dwelling fires risks that you see come in, what I'd recommend is that you reach out directly to our personal lines team. We have two incredible personal lines underwriters here at Chris-Leef, Marcia Peck and Sarah Delbene, and I'll have their contact information in a follow-up email for you, but they can address those questions for you today. But today, we're going to focus on this mostly as it pertains to commercial property. So our agenda for the day, what are we going to be doing? We're going to talk about what is wind hail buyback coverage. We're going to talk about which clients benefit from this protection. And then we're also going to talk to you guys about how to get a quote as quickly as possible with the fewest amount of steps. We here at Chris-Leef have a one-page application for wind hail buyback, which is fantastic. That and a statement of values and a couple of other items are all that we need to get you your best, fastest quote, and we're going to talk about that here at the end. So, okay, first things first, what is wind hail buyback coverage? A wind hail buyback policy is going to buy down the regular deductible that a client would have to pay if they had a wind or hail claim. So, for example, if their primary property policy requires a 5% deductible, our buyback program, our buyback product, can reduce that deductible to either a smaller percentage, or a set dollar amount that will reduce the out-of-pocket expense when a loss will occur. The economy is where it is right now, and some of these claims the deductible is high enough that it would be a real issue for especially small businesses today. So this coverage is here to help them when a claim happens, when a loss occurs, to just reduce that out-of-pocket expense for their deductible. So now that I've explained the basics of what the coverage is, the definition, if you will, I'm actually going to hand this off to Keith Goodman, who's going to go over some of the coverage specifics as well as the target clients and target classes that we recommend for this coverage. So Keith, go ahead and take it away.
Hey everybody, my name is Keith Goodman. As Megan said, I'm a commercial lines underwriter here at Chris-Leef. I just want to thank everybody for taking time out of your day to join us for this webinar. Some of the coverage specifics for the wind hail buy downs is that the lowest minimum dollar deductible we can buy down to for the wind hail is 5,000, and we do have minimum premiums as low as $500. Our wind hail buyback appetite includes large property risks. That's where I see the biggest benefit. I mean, any insured is going to benefit from lowering their wind hail deductible, but primarily I see it once you start getting toward towards the high six figures or into the multiple millions. Those are the insurers that really benefit from this product. I just worked on a wind hail buy down or quote for somebody last week, and the TIV was around like 25 million. And that's where I see the big benefit, but really anybody with a large wind hail deductible is going to benefit from this. The other thing about the wind hail buy down product is that most of the risks we can quote in-house without submitting, which allows us to turn around the quotes and the binds quickly for you guys. The coverages do include property and contents and other structures coverage is available. The big thing is the business income, we typically do not quote on the wind hail buy downs. In a rare case that the business income does have a wind hail buy down or wind hail deductible associated with it, then we can get that over to Opal, which is our wind hail buy down market. And then really, I should have went to on the last slide, but some of the exposures I see with the greatest benefit as well is I quote a lot of these for churches. I quote a lot of wind hail buy downs for warehouses, really any large commercial building. I see restaurants, strip centers, anybody that has a large roof exposure there. Especially in the Midwest, you guys, the frequency and severity of the wind hail claims has only increased over the years. And with the weather patterns, I only see that continuing to increase. So this is definitely a great cross sell if you're trying to help benefit your insured.
Perfect.
And back to you, Megan.
Thank you so much, Keith. No, you're great. That was great. I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit more here in a second about what it looks like to be in a hail-prone area. I think that for most of us who are on the call today, you're in that area. But I did also want to mention just another client that would benefit from this is we are seeing that there are lenders and associations that have some by law maximum deductible requirements coming in. As I was talking to Keith about this coverage the other day, he was mentioning that in particular in Texas, he sees a lot of these coming in where there is by law, a maximum deductible requirement on these property risks. And we are seeing that extend even further into these hail-prone areas. So that's another client, absolutely, when they come in, understanding that they might have these specific maximum deductible requirements that are written on their property policies that we can help buy down afterwards, even though there is that bylaw initially on that property risk. This we can use to help reduce that deductible as well. So
I also want to jump in really quickly again. There is one other exposure as well that I've been quoting more wind hail buy down quotes for, which is builder's risks. I've been seeing that more and more.
Absolutely. Once there's a roof on that sucker, you know? Yes, absolutely. Builder's risks for sure. Perfect. And I see that Iva Williams had a question. Iva, I am going to talk about that here when I talk about how to get a quote. So I will go back to that slide here in just a second on the different types of deductibles that we see to help explain what that is. But really quickly, while we're talking about hail-prone areas, I wanted to share this information with you all. So what you're seeing here is a map from the National Weather Service that was released in 2023. And what it's showing is that most of our agent partners, as well as your insureds, have your buildings in either the extreme or the very severe zones for hail. In our current world, I think we all know that it's not a matter of if there's going to be a hailstorm, but it's a matter of when and how severe that hailstorm is going to be. For those of us who live in this area, I'm in Kansas City, you know, this is called Tornado Alley, and with that comes both wind and hail. And so I think that as we've seen weather patterns change over the last few years, there is no longer a question of if there will be a hailstorm, but it is really when. So the National Weather Service, this graph that you're seeing to the side here. They reported 5,373 hail events in 2024, where the hail was 1 inch in diameter or larger, which is pretty intense to see those kind of numbers coming out of 2024. They'll be releasing their report soon for 2025, and they're certain that that number has gone up in 2025 as well. The Insurance Information Institute reported that severe convective storms, Tornado Alley, that had events in 2023 and 2024 have cost global insurers a remarkable $143 billion, of which $120 billion occurred in the US alone. So the majority of these storms are happening right in the heart of where Chris-Leef lives and works and where you are, with Texas, Kansas, Missouri, Nebraska, and Oklahoma having the majority of those storms. Wind and hail damages account for about 15% of all small business insurance claims, and the average claim cost on that is $26,000. So when we're talking about being able to reduce that deductible to $5,000, that $26,000, I think we can all agree that for a small business would be the kind of money that could potentially cause them to go out of business. So this is what we want to share with you, because we know that selling coverages like this in our current economy can be difficult to sell, because insureds might see this as an extra coverage, which is why what we've done is I've taken all the information you're seeing on the slide, as well as the numbers that I presented for you, and I have put them together into a flyer that is specifically designed for you to be able to use when you're talking with insureds, to explain to them what this coverage is and why it's imperative for them to have it for when a hail or windstorm comes through their area. So you will be seeing that attached in a follow-up email afterwards. And the nice thing about that flyer is there will be a section for you to be able to put your agency name, your agency contact information directly on that flyer as well. So it is a co-branded flyer. It's got us, it's got you, and it's got all of the important information. And I'll be sending that over with everything else, including a recording of our webinar, in a follow-up email to you soon. So I am going to pause here to go over the questions that we have had in our chat here. So the first one, I'm going to chat again about those different deductible types when it comes to submitting an application here in just 1 minute. For Matthew Myers, you said, does the claim have to meet or exceed the underlying property carrier's deductible in order for your policy to respond? Or is the underlying property carrier's deductible replaced by the deductible on the buy down policy? And you gave us an example there. I'm going to let Keith jump in with us here, because he does write these risks day in and day out, to be able to answer that that question for us. Keith, could you help me have a little bit more clarity on how that would work?
Yeah, so I've never dealt with a partial claim scenario on that, so I would have to ask the carrier about that. I've always seen it's like a full limit loss. So in your example, if there's a $30,000 deductible on their property policy, but we quoted it to buy it down to 10,000, then it would just, their responsibility would be 10,000, because then the Opal, which is our wind hail buy down market, would have to work with the overlying property carrier to work on that, the transaction of the deductibles essentially.
Fantastic. Yeah. And as far as partial claims where might be here or there, I know that Keith will get us an answer, and I'll be sure to include that in my follow-up email to everybody. But that's a great question, Matthew, on how that works. I'm glad to hear that that's how it works, Keith. That would have been my assumption, but I would never like to speak out of assumption on this one. So fantastic. So let's talk really quickly about how you would be able to get quote back from our team, how to submit an application from us. So here is what we would need to be able to get you the fastest possible and most correct and fully formed quote for your insured. We would need a copy of our wind hail buyback application, which is a 1-page application. We would need a statement of values in our application, and you'll see it here in a second in a slide. In our application, there is a link to a statement of values spreadsheet that you can use that we have created for you with convenient drop-down menus to be able to fly through that as quickly as possible. We would need 3 years of currently valued loss runs, currently valued, please. That is important. If they are not currently valued, I know that Keith will come back and ask for them to be so. And then the last piece that we'll need there is we will need a copy of the primary property terms, including their wind hail deductible terms. So going back to Iva's question here and to the slide before, when we're talking about coverage specifics here, on your primary policy for your property, there is going to be built into the deductible one of these 4 types of deductibles. And this is part of the reason that we need a copy of that property policy that is already in place so that we will know which kind of deductible already applies to your property, and we can make sure that our buy down is the exact same kind and will also happen at the same time. So the different types that are here would be the per occurrence deductible, the per location deductible, per building. So those are different. Location can have multiple buildings, obviously, and per building, and then a percentage deductible. On our one-page wind hail buyback application, you're going to see those options for on your current policy for your property. Which deductible type do we have? Per occurrence, per location, per building, or percentage? And that is just a button that you can click to choose so that we will know that when we go into quotes. And by we, I do mean Keith, when Keith goes in to quote that. So got a couple of questions that are coming in here that I want to address before I move on to my next slide. Looks like Chelsea Cooper said, what does currently valued mean on loss runs? Keith, correct me if I'm wrong, but that would mean the last 3 years that they have had that policy, correct?
Yeah, so currently valued is within the past 30 days.
Oh, got it. Thank you so much. Absolutely. So the last 3 years, and it would need to have been pulled within the last 30 days. Great. Perfect. And so we've got a couple of others that are coming in. So yeah, Melanie, you just asked, is it 30 or 60? It's going to be the last 30 days. Thank you guys. You guys are also helpful with each other as well. So we were talking about how to get a quote. Go ahead, Keith.
I just want to step in because I saw Kim's response. Yes, there needs to be a claim to the property carrier before the wind hail buy down product would kick in.
Yes, yeah, that's going to need to happen on how our policy will begin, where we will start. The claims is going to be the thing that kicks that off. Perfect. Okay, so I just took a couple of snippets. This is just the very top part of the one page of the application. And you'll see that right there where it says complete the SOV attached here for each location. If you click on that in our application, which again, I will send to you as follow-up here, it is going to open a spreadsheet that is there for you. And again, we have some built-in drop-down menus on this that will include drop downs for the year built, the construction type, the roof type, the last updates on the roof, and the number of losses in the past 3 years. That way you can choose the ones that we need to be able to go into the Opal site and for Keith to be able to get that accurate quote for you. Something that Keith mentioned to me as we were talking through this is that having a completed SOV can dramatically change the premium. And a lot of times when he has these complete SOVs, he's actually seeing the premium change in favor of the insured. So we do really, really, really want to recommend when we are sending over a risk to get quoted, we need the application, the SOV, the loss runs, and the current policy terms with the wind hail deductible. And all of that can be sent either directly to Keith, whose email was at the beginning and will be on my follow-up email, or any submission of any kind can get sent to Chris-Leef at submissions@chris-leef.com. So fantastic. I'm going to go over some information about the Grove, and then we'll answer any other questions that have come up in the chat here at the end. I wanted to mention that we here at Chris-Leef have created an agent portal that's specifically designed for our agency partners in mind. Some of the things that you can do on the Grove agent portal would be to create a submission. Currently, we have this available for any general liability commercial risks, where you go in, it's an online form, you type the information into the form, it takes that information, it maps it to the Accord forms for you. It emails you those Accord forms. It emails it to our team and gets it created in our system and started. It is the fastest way to get a general liability quote. So we have that ability. You can also pay online for your statements or your invoices. You can run production reports. I know that at the end of the year, beginning of the year, there's usually a lot of requests that come in to run a production report, which I am always happy to do for you, but it's also something that's available on the Grove. There's a policy management system. You can see every policy you've ever written with Chris-Leef, all the specifics of that policy, any documents that are attached to that, including the policy documents, the invoice, the statements, anything else, audits, endorsements, all those documents are available for you there. You can create and print certificates on general liability policies in less than 2 minutes on the Grove. You can access our online applications as fillable PDFs, not only for wind hail, but all of the things that we write across to all of our departments. You can rate online with all of our online carriers, and you can submit a claim. So those are some of the functionalities. We are always growing. We're going to be rolling out new lines of business for the Create submission here in early 2026. So just something that I want to mention. There's a QR code on the screen right now if you'd like, or there'll be a link in my follow-up email to request your access to both the Grove as well as our online raters through our carrier platforms as well. Again, thank you guys so much for your time today. We really appreciate you coming here and learning with us. Again, if you do have any questions about this or anything else that we have an appetite for at Chris-Leef, our underwriters are here. We really do and truly pride ourselves on being able to answer the phone for you. So if you have questions, please let our team know. We are here to partner with you guys in 2026. We're excited.